Yeah, I guess we're waiting for you.
I guess so. I guess so.
Why are all these people here? Why are these people here? People ready to talk about it. Filling out the invite slip.
I'd like to call to order the Village of Bartlett Plan Commission for October 11, 2018 at 7:03. Secretary, call the roll.
Jim Lemberg. Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Tim Ridenauer.
Here.
John Miasso.
Here.
Diane Nagel. Here. Austin Hopkins.
Here.
Jack Allen.
Here.
Jerry Callis.
Here. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the July 12, 2018 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any corrections or additions, changes?
Go ahead.
Secretary, call the roll.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Tim Ridenauer.
Stayed.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Yes.
Austin Hopkins.
Yes.
Jack Allen.
Yes.
Jerry Callis.
Yes.
Jim Lemberg.
Yes. This evening, the two items on our agenda are public hearings. If anyone has a comment, question, on the back where the clock is over there is a little sheet to fill out with your name and address on it and turn it into staff. And at the appropriate time, we'll give you a call and you can come up front here and make your statement or questions. Back there by the clock, I believe the papers are back there still? Right. Next item on the agenda is number 18-17, Express Car Wash, Site Plan Review, and Special Use Permit for a car wash. Again, this is a public hearing. And Angela, we have the documents for the notifications.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Would you like to give us a little background?
Of course. The petitioner is requesting a site plan review and a special use permit for a car wash to be located on a 2.88 parcel at 1255 West Lake Street, located along the south side of Lake Street, about 800 feet east of Naperville Road. The car wash will include a tunnel wash with accompanying vacuums. The proposed 5,500 square foot building will primarily consist of a brick veneer with accented limestone veneer at the north and south ends of the building, along the lower portion of the building, and vacuum cleaners, as well as the columns on the east and west facades. Metal roofing will be incorporated over the vacuum area and the north and south towers. The tallest portion of the building will be 33 feet and 5 inches due to the two towers on the car wash. However, the average height of the car wash would be 19 feet 6 inches, meeting the zoning ordinance requirement of 25 feet. Rooftop mechanicals will be located behind the parapet walls and screened on all four sides. The windows will be incorporated along both sides of the building with a clear view through the building while the vehicles are accessing the tunnel wash. And the vacuum metal canopies will be 14 feet, meeting the zoning code requirement of 25 feet. The petitioner has requested one curb cut along Lake Street for access to the car wash within close proximity to the location of the existing driveway. Lake Street is under the jurisdiction of IDOT, and the petitioner has been in contact with IDOT regarding the access. Internal circulation on the site would primarily consist of a one-way clockwise vehicular pattern with all vehicles queuing at the pay stations and entering the building along the south side. Vehicles will be traveling through the tunnel wash and exiting the building to the north side, and then the vehicles would either exit the site out through Lake Street or turn right to enter the vacuum area. The petitioner has designed the car wash to have the drier portion of the tunnel furthest away from the residential use on the south side. The vacuums located east of the building would contain no motors, but would operate from a central vacuum system. The central vacuum mechanical unit located adjacent to the trash enclosures would be located 227 feet from the nearest resident and contain a silencer unit. This enclosure would be screened on all four sides, and it architecturally matched the building and vacuum canopies with the incorporation of a metal roof. The zoning ordinance requires stacking to be 5 times the limit of the wash. So a total of 25 stacking spaces would be required to meet the zoning ordinance. The site plan identifies 57 stacking spaces. And then they also have 31 vacuum parking stalls and 2 handicap stalls and 5 parking stalls dedicated specifically for employees. This plan does exceed the zoning ordinance requirement. A 6-foot-high fence is going to be installed along the south property line, along with landscaping that would provide a buffer between this use and the adjacent residential use. General hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday. 3 employees would generally be on site, and the car wash would always have an employee available while it is open. The petitioner anticipates peak hours to be between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. with a maximum of 80 cars per hour. And staff recommends approval with the conditions outlined in your report.
All right, thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you stand? And anyone else going to give testimony?
Good evening to the
Morning,
commission.
please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Alan Jacob. I'm the attorney for the petitioners, Dan and Sean Andre. My address is 950 North Milwaukee Avenue, Suite 329, Glenview, Illinois, 60025. There's just one thing I want to bring to the commission's attention. There's a memo that was issued on September 24, 2018, which requires or suggests that a 6-foot fence be installed on the south end of the property to create a buffer between this property and the adjacent property behind it. I spoke to the owner of the adjacent property who's here today, and they have a fence on their property line, and this fence, this 6-foot fence, would be about 1 foot apart from the adjacent property's fence. That could cause a problem in requiring maintenance on both fences. So we're seeking clarification from the commission of whether or not that fence is required. And the petitioners are willing to plant more evergreens, which are 10 to 25 feet high, to block any headlights traveling south towards the adjacent property. So I think this is the only point of contention by the property owner to the adjacent south. So is it a requirement of the commission to put that fence there, or just create a buffer from light and sound?
I can answer that. It's actually a requirement from the landscape ordinance.
Okay.
And we unfortunately do have different locations where there is a fence abutting a fence. The only way to not put in the fence would be to request a variation and go through the zoning board of appeals public hearing process.
Okay.
Okay, the car wash is going to be touchless, a car wash, or are you going to have brushes? What kind of car wash is it going to be?
It'd be touchless, brushless.
Touchless.
Brushes.
And you're going to use recycled water during the process?
I'm not sure. You want-
With Carwash Pro Designers, we use, it's an eco-friendly design, so we use 15 gallons of water per vehicle versus the ordinary 70 gallons per vehicle. So recycling the water would only end up on the tail end of the wash, which would be the rinse cycle, which only uses about 5.5 gallons. So putting in the system for 5 gallons doesn't make sense.
Okay. On your drawing here, that's the geometric plan labeled C4. It shows the layout of the, what you had up there. And it shows that you have all the direction going towards the east for the cars. Did you ever think about having this plan reversed, having the washer building on the east side instead of the west side?
We did, and in fact, it would be better to have a left turn into a drive-through, it's the way most drive-throughs are, is a left turn in. Right turn is typically a tougher turn to make. The reason why we moved it away was the getting butt up against the RV area had an issue with seeing the site coming, people going down Lake Street, going east. But we did consider having it flipped. Typically, our facilities do have it opposite, but because we're so far away from the church and being butt up against the RV area, people passing the facility would not see the wash until after the fact. So we position it there so it can be seen.
All right, and the car queue lane exhibit, number 1. You have listed here that the typical passenger car from IDOT is about 19 feet long. Did you guys ever calculate vans and pickup trucks? They're certainly a lot longer than 19 feet.
My car's not 19 feet long.
I'm Joel Mathai with Terra Consulting Group. We are the engineering firm. This is the typical size for the car, so most often the cars are this size. So the reason why this is the standard size for most of the stacking plans that we do. There will, if it is all trucks, there will be a little bit less, but this is the standard size for the stacking plans.
Okay, referring to the site plan traffic pattern, where the cars exit, you only have space for one car, which is 19 feet. What happens when that car stops out there and can't decide whether or not he wants to go into the vacuum area or go out on the Lake Street? Does your machine stop or?
Yes. So just like traffic signals making left turns, notice you're in the left turn lane. There's a crash pad that's put into the concrete itself. If a car is sitting on that concrete pad, it knows to shut the system down when a vehicle passes a certain point behind it. So we'll automatically shut down the conveyor if somebody remains on that apron.
All right, so the car that's in the car wash is not going to go bumping into the car that's sitting outside already?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you have the car going around your building, going to the left. So that means the cars coming into your driveway off of Lake Street are going to have to cross in front of that car that's coming out of your car wash. It's also going to have to cross in front of that driveway that you have to the west of that building. And you don't think it's going to create a traffic problem there, a hazard for the drivers, when this guy is coming out of the car wash and there's other cars coming onto the property? There's a stack of cars trying to get off when this guy wants to make a right-hand turn. According to your diagram there, you have, what, 5 cars already lined up there. So if this guy wants to turn right, he can't get out to that lane to turn right because there's too many cars there.
So there's a 30-second delay between vehicles exiting the wash. So if there was a situation like that where we're bumper to bumper and somebody had exited the wash and somebody had been coming in off of Lake Street, passing in front of that drive path to go into the vacuum or stack, there's a again, the crash pad would kick into play where everything would stop. But there is a 30-second pause between vehicles. And 30 seconds seems like a lifetime when you're sitting in a vehicle. There's a long pause between the cars that get pushed out.
Okay, do you know what the distance is from Lake Street to the intersection we're talking about, where the car coming out of the car wash and the other traffic would be coming from the west side into that area? Do you know how long the driveway is?
Distance from the exit of the building to Lake Street itself? I mean, do you have that measurement? I might have it in the landscape. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say 100 feet. If we're looking at the apron being at 20, 20 feet, and you copy that, I would say it's about 100 feet from the exit of the wash to lake.
Okay? Again, if we have 3 cars waiting to make a right-hand turn, and a vehicle is coming out of your car wash building, and 2 cars are coming off of Lake Street. First guy pulls in and he sees that this car is coming out of the building and stops. And the guy that wants to come in off of Lake Street next to him, how far out into Lake Street is he going to be? Lake Street's going 40 and 45 miles an hour, except for semis that do 50 and 60. So,
There would be.
again, you don't see a traffic problem there?
No, I don't. I mean, we would have 3 cars comfortably parked in that spot before it would interfere with traffic coming in off of Lake, trying to turn into the parking lot. And if somebody paused at the exit of the wash, which would be the 4th vehicle, leaving 20-foot room for oncoming traffic, I think that a signal sign might work when you exit the wash saying, stop for traffic, passing traffic, might resolve it, yield. And keeping in mind that there is a crash pad there. So if somebody is stopped at that spot and someone were coming in from Lake Street, passing in front of the wash lane, and that sign said yield, I think that I don't see an issue with this.
Well, again, if your plan was in the opposite direction, if your building was over on the east side, it wouldn't have that traffic pattern to worry about. The flow would go through there, and that intersection wouldn't develop any problems whatsoever.
I think that we would be open. The reason why we're in the current apron is because that's the one that exists. I'd have to ask the engineering department. We would be open to positioning, I'm not sure what's involved in this, how much time. And IDOT they got a phone in a room that nobody answers. But, if we move the apron down 50 feet kind of in the center where it's in front of maybe the entrance to the vacuum area, we would be open to that. But if it ends up being an 8-month scenario, and then we don't have shovel in the ground for a year as a result of that, we want traffic pattern to be smooth, the user experience within the lot to be fluid. 30 seconds, we were in a meeting not too long ago at another town hall, and the mayor hit his clock, waited 30 seconds, and when we sat there, it felt like a lifetime. 30 seconds is a long time to be pausing, waiting for vehicles to exit and enter. And we would be totally open to a yield sign at the exit of the wash that person would have to yield oncoming traffic. But we would also be open to moving the apron or the entrance kind of in the center of the lot as to avoid that. But IDOT is notorious for 8 months minimum on everything. They're just notorious. But we would be open to that. But again, as I was saying, that I truly feel like there will not be an issue with this spot. WashU built a car wash. It's owned by Dick Portillo. He built one on North Avenue in Villa Park. His entrance directly out of the exit of the wash is 35 feet. They have cars stacked inside and out, and there's never congestion. Literally, the exit of the wash, you have a 20-foot drive, and then it's the apron. We have 100 feet here. I just don't think it's going to be an issue.
Anyone on the commission have any questions?
Well, no, not more than one. Right.
I have a follow-up question on that same issue. You have another thing to say on that?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right. I'm thinking about the stacking now that you brought it up, Jim, and I'm just wondering about timing then. So how frequently do cars come out of that tunnel?
Every 30 seconds.
So every 30 seconds. So if there's a 30-second gap between everyone coming out of there, and then what is, how traffic engineers say, gaps that can be used to pull into traffic. So do you have an idea about how frequently at, let's say, peak operating hours on Lake Street there, that those gaps appear in traffic?
So it's funny that you asked that. There's a house currently on the lot, and it's a single 12-foot wide asphalt drive. And I pulled into the lot when we first looked at this property, rush hour on a Friday. And I didn't want to pull too far in because it looked like it was private and someone was living inside. So I had pulled into the driveway with no ability to turn around. So I was able to not only pull into the drive, I was able to back out into traffic and back and pull out with zero issue in the middle of. I mean, there's a light that's literally up the street here that gives you a pause.
All right. My second question is this. This still has to get IDOT approval, right?
Yep.
Okay, including the geometry of the right in and the right out.
Correct.
So we don't know if this is going to have some sort of median or pork chop or something else in the, geometry of the thing as we
Correct.
lay it out, right? It's all TBD.
Correct.
But engineers have to review it and say it's good. And will IDOT be looking at the stacking as well in order to approve this as a viable right in, right out?
They do.
Okay. That's all I have.
And they are doing an impact study as well on that. So one of the things that was mentioned in a precursory call with IDOT, and we're using KLOA for that, is that there is currently a designated turn lane that will allow people to make left in and not be in oncoming traffic. Same for exiting the wash. People will be able to exit and not drive right onto eastbound traffic. They'll be able to pause on the median and wait for traffic to flow by before they cross over.
Okay, just one more. So KLOA is on this project?
Yes.
And they're good with the concept?
Absolutely fine with this.
They're the best traffic engineers in the metropolitan area.
Anyone else have questions?
What is the typical flow when somebody comes in here? They go in and use the vacuums first?
So it's 50-50. So you'll get scenarios where someone will come in and use the vacuums, realize they had enough time, they didn't budget enough time to get the car washed. So one of the questions that our clients would ask would be, do you get people that will just come in for the vacuum and leave? Well, you'll get people that will come in, vacuum the vehicle, realize they ran out of time, leave, and then come back later for just the wash. So it is a very mixed group where you'll see some people that will pull in, go right in through the wash, they'll exit the wash, come right into the vacuum and leave. Or you'll get people that will go through the wash, come in out of the wash, vacuum and leave. So you get a flip. Or you'll get people that just get washes, or some people that just get the vacuum done.
Irregardless, when they leave the vacuums, they go north and get back in the queue for
Yes.
the wash. You don't have people that are going to dry cars at the end of the line.
No, and the system that we have put in,
Dry.
no, we actually
It's just air.
Yeah, they got
have a huge RO system going in, so it'll be spotless when it leaves.
Anything else?
For the vacuums, what's the sound decimal that those operate at?
So the central vacuums are both housed. There's one unit that services the row of vacuums that are closest to the building. It's central.
Okay.
And the actual unit itself is housed inside the building within an equipment room.
Is that in the front or the back of the building?
It's on this side, so if you're looking at there's in the center, right to the left a little bit more, right there. A little more, right there. That whole row, that's the equipment room. So
Oh, okay.
there's one unit that gets housed there, and then the garbage carousel, which we roofed and totally encased in masonry, will have another unit, and they're also muffled. So there's 0 decibels outside the building from those units because the units are inside.
Okay. So if you're standing on the edge of the property line, you won't hear those vacuums at all?
Not the vacuums, but I got a huge history on noise decibel level from a doctor recently or somebody who got a degree in this, calls him doctor something. The actual exit of the entrance of the building So the blowers are on the furthest part of the building. So those are at the end. That's where the most noise is. When you enter the building, the road itself has 65 to 75 decibel just from the ambient noise from the traffic, 65 to 75. The entrance of the building is 65 decibels from 1 meter. Then at 20 feet out, it's 50 decibels. 40 feet out, it's 42 decibels. 80 feet out, it's 34 decibels. 165 feet out, it's 26 decibels. Well, I wanted to know what that meant. So decibel levels at 30 is a totally quiet night in the desert. Between 26 and 18 is a pin drop from 1 centimeter away. So the trees blowing would be louder than the noise from that building.
Gotcha.
What distance?
From the 160 feet away.
How far is the backyard of your neighbor to this?
227.
From this point back, it's 227, so it's a little further from the actual
And
building.
that's to the houses that are not yet built or will be built?
These
And
houses are actually built right
they built?
here,
Okay.
and so this is to the property line, so the houses are a little further.
Now, one thing that this ratio is based off of is flat land. So no trees, no fences, no obstructions. So these decibels are based on that. So with the neighbors in the back recommended that on the employee parking area, which is the 5 parking spots toward the back of the lot there, that we put a nice set of trees that will block lighting from when people stack there, which we will absolutely do. And then on the back of the lot, we're going to plant a wall of evergreens at 20 feet high that will not only block the light, but will add an additional sound buffer to that. So this is 18 decibels to the back of the house of the man that's sitting to the right here, and then it's without trees.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? No? And at this time, I will open it up to the public. Anyone that has a question or comment? Reading.
We have 3. Matthew McGregor.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Hi, my name is, excuse me, Matthew McGregor. I live at 647 Sierra Court, which is about the eastern 2/3 of the south property line of the proposed development. And my 2 concerns were, the one was with the fence, because that will cause a maintenance problem for, the weeds that grow in between there. And then in the event that we would ever have to replace boards or entirely replace the fence, it's going to be next to impossible to do that with another fence so close. But, knowing that likely it won't go through the variance process, we're okay with that as long as the evergreen trees are planted like we discussed, and then also the evergreens around the 5-space parking area. So other than that, all of my concerns have been addressed.
Thank you.
And I will work with the petitioner. There is another choice instead of fencing. We briefly talked about it, but not in depth, where they can do some berming in the back, and that will work instead of a fence as well. So we'll talk to them and see if they would rather do that instead of a fence on a fence.
Did you hear that, Mr. McGregor? Okay. The requirement is a 25-foot wide area that has a berm on it. That's another alternative. But the problem is, and I'm not the civil engineer, is their detention is in that area too, and I don't know how that would work. It's in the back, it's in the back there. That might come into play, so.
We'll take a look at it, and if you want to leave your phone number, I can contact you, an email or something.
Terry Witt.
Terry Witt at 471 Southwestern Avenue. And my comments really are are to do with the traffic on Lake Street. I mean, we have some really horrific crashes over there because of the speed limits. And it's maybe an opportunity for the village to go to IDOT also and say, hey, let's slow the traffic. Because as the new ramp, it's on the other side of the road, but as the new ramp gets extended, cars are really going to be zooming westward. And the traffic lights, timing may be adjusted, so maybe there's a little bit longer red light on Lake Street, which IDOT is never in favor of shortening those, but maybe a shorter red light might help create that gap in and out at this and the next project that's going to be there, and also the project that eventually is going to be at Lake and 59 of some huge complex of the future that we always hear about. And that cross street that's between 59 and I think it's Monarch and Horizon. And if you ride a bicycle, you gotta run like crazy to get across that road. It is a tough place to ride a bicycle. So slowing the traffic, maybe stop a horrific accident and let a bike rider run across there in less than 15 seconds.
Thank you.
Sean Bransky.
Hi, Sean Bransky. I'm the owner of Barrington Motor Sales RV on the adjacent property to the east. And I would just like to request a required fence between the two properties. Reason for that would be as a sound buffer, but also I think if there was a visual exposure, it would be a distraction for my customers that I need to maintain their focus. We're selling some pretty high-end vehicles. If there was a lot of cars being parked waiting to get into the car wash, music and the subwoofers and things of people can just be a big distraction. And so I'm requesting a fence between the two properties.
All right, thank you.
That's it. That's all I have.
That's all we have. Anyone else in the audience have a question, comment? Anyone?
You have to come back up, sorry. Sorry. Just state your first.
Sure, Matthew McGregor. You know, with mentioning the subwoofers and the noise, I didn't know if it'd be possible if you could install signs or something in there to tell people that, you know, radios need to be turned down. Because I didn't even think about that, but that could be a concern if they're vacuuming their car and they have their radio blasting. So, thank you.
I'd like to make one other statement. So when we designed the facility, the development department recommended that we put the vacuum and refuge structure in the front closest to Lake Street. The reason why we have it positioned to the back is to act as a deflector in the event that somebody does leave a loud radio on. We will have staff on board that will make sure that that doesn't happen. We have no problem. Actually all of our stands do say, you know, radios turned off, vehicles turned off, that they're not running while they're in there too. But we will make sure that we police that as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Anyone on the commission have any further questions, comments?
I have a few comments. Number one, I give you a lot of credit for what your buildings look like and the layout looks like. I think it looks good. What else I have? As much as I'm against variances, as well as people know, The idea is, as you said, that the fence in the back would need a variance. And I'd be happy to say yes to a variance to get rid of that fence in the back and put your evergreen straight across. That way it will help those people that have a fence to fix it. If they had a fence, 2 fences back to back, nobody's going to clean the weeds in between at all. And then to fix something when you've got such a short distance between, it's not going to work. So I say, as much as I am against variances, I will vote yes to a variance to get rid of that fence back there.
Unfortunately, this board does not vote on variances.
Pardon?
Unfortunately, this board does not vote on variances. That goes before the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, well, I mean, they can go back to there, but,
I think staff's going to
You
try to
know,
work with the
if there's-
petitioner and work out a landscape screen that everybody's going to be happy with, so,
if there's a variance in here, you know what I'm going to do.
I know.
In this case, after listening to what's going on, I, easily say yes to it. So if you want to go ahead and have them go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and see if they'll say yes to a variance, so will I.
Anyone else?
Point of order then, do
Yeah.
we need a condition appended to ask the staff to, or to approve this either with appropriate evergreen screening or with the fence, so that the project can move ahead? Or are we just happy with any outcome?
No, we can. we'll
We
put
need
it-
a condition.
I would think
we'll put it
having
as
the
a
evergreen.
condition to the,
Yeah.
to eliminate the fence and put a screening of
Well-
evergreen.
Well, staff will work with them, yeah. Put that in there.
One or the other, we're happy with the project.
Yeah.
So is it enough that that's in our record?
You cannot eliminate the fence at this Plan Commission meeting.
Right, but what project are we approving then?
You can approve it as is. You can approve it with a condition that staff meets with the petitioner and they revise their plan to another alternative that meets the landscape ordinance.
There's the condition.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
All you need. Okay.
That fixes it.
That fixed it?
We're good?
Any other questions, comments?
I'd like to make one comment, because nobody else has. The building is gorgeous. You did a great job on it, right? You did not skimp anywhere on the plan that I can see. You're really considerate of the neighbors with sound and with layout and with buffering. I want to make sure that, you're recognized for that effort.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment here that under the staff's recommendation for the following conditions, letter H, number 3, where it says that vehicular ingress and egress to and from the site and circular within the site provides for a safe, efficient, and convenient move of traffic, not only within the site, but adjacent roadways as well. I have real concerns with that. If there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion to approve the petitioner's request
Are we going to approve that?
following the conditions and the finding of fact?
What about the other condition?
Pardon?
What about the condition about,
You want to add a condition to that?
Roberta had a good one.
So I'll make the motion, and then with Roberta, do you want to phrase the way you had that condition?
So work with the petitioner.
Yeah,
and the landscape
staff is going to work with the petitioner to ensure that they meet the landscape ordinance with or without a fence, and
Sounds
how
good
about
right
that?
there.
Yeah.
So moved with those conditions.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Who was the second? Jerry, thank you.
Secretary, call the roll.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes?
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jerry Callis.
Yes.
Mr. Bransky, I think he still hasn't had his question answered yet, is that correct? So you are a commercial use as well, and in our landscape ordinance, commercial use is adjacent to another commercial use. A fence is not required. So I believe, and per the landscape plan, and maybe you would like to speak with the petitioner, they can show you in more detail the landscaping that they're proposing along the two property lines there, okay? Is that okay? But I'm sorry, a fence is not required between the two uses.
Where's the landscape?
Okay, motion
We
carried.
are keeping a lot of the existing landscaping that's along that side right now, but I'm sure they'll be happy to meet with you as well.
Okay, then. Well, good luck.
They went through extra effort, paid extra money.
Right now.
Yeah.
The next item on our agenda is number 18-20, Moretti's Wine Club, special use permit to sell packaged liquors, wine. Again, this is a public hearing. If anyone has a comment or question, there's a form to fill out and hand it in to staff.
Nobody.
And Angela, do we have the documents,
Yes, I do.
applications?
A, B, and C.
We all get
Okay.
wine club memberships.
Could you give us a background, please?
All right, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to sell packaged liquor, which is wine, for their patrons at Moretti's.
Angela, just one moment. Close the door, please. Sorry.
Thank you.
The petitioner is proposing to start a wine club similar to the Cooper's Hawk Wine Club, in which there is a membership to receive bottles of wine each month and also to host wine tastings. The 22,900 square foot establishment would offer wine tastings at the bar located behind the hostess stand. And the packaged wine would also be allowed at the restaurant tables and booths for consumption. So the entrance is right here into Moretti's, and it's the bar that's right here. There's a couple doors right here, and the washrooms are right here, just for location. The parking for Moretti's and Lucky Star consists of 442 parking spaces with an overflow parking lot located at the south end of their property. This use would not require any additional spaces. The current hours of operation are staying as is, and they will be required to get a Class G liquor license, which would be a condition upon their special use permit if so approved. Staff recommends approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions and findings of fact in my report.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you stand and raise your right hand, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? I do. Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add to Angela up here? Yes, give your name and address, please.
James Early, 2330 Hammond Drive, Schaumburg. And I was here last Thursday. And did everyone get a package on our? Okay, good. Yeah, we're excited about it. This is the 7th Village Hall, and it'll be my 7th approval, hopefully. And I just have Rosemont and Mount Prospect left and signed up. But everybody's been real excited about it. We're excited about it. We want to upgrade the wine at Moretti's, but not at a upgraded price. I've got a big cooperation with Southern Wine and Spirits because they know how much Cooper's Hawk's house wine is taken away from them. So they're going to help subsidize our wine club. So I'll be getting wine that's actually rated 80 to 100 from Wine Spectator for $15 a month. You'll get a bottle or a tasting, so you and your guests can come in and you can get 3 tastings each with that. I mean, it's 1 ounce, 1 ounce. But it's pretty cool. Comes in a container, 6 little glasses around it, and you get your 3 and 3, and they explain the regions they're from. And it's going to take a lot of training with our servers. I'm a little nervous about that. But other than that, we've been getting a great response. I personally joined Cooper's Hawk Wine Club to get the feel of it and how important the tastings were and everything. And, twice I went there for a little tasting on the way to the show and ended up having dinner there. And part of it brings people in, and everybody invites their neighbors, because you'll get a bottle of wine, then you'll wait 2 months, now you have 2 bottles of wine, so you invite your family out, and we cork the wine at the table, so you won't be charged at the table for the wine because it comes on your credit card once a month, exactly like Cooper's Hawk, and they're opening in Dubai. The first one was in Roland Park about, 12 years ago. So they're doing pretty good with their wine club, I'd say. So he worked at Linford Winery in Roselle for 2 years to come up with his concept. So I've been I know him pretty well, and I was able to network with him through an Illinois Restaurant Association networking event where I got to spend a half hour with him. He didn't know I was going to start a wine club. I actually didn't even know I was going to start a wine club when I met him, but we've got a lot of mutual chefs that we know, and it's a cool, neat thing, and I've been experimenting more with wine now than I ever thought I ever would, only because I become a little more knowledgeable and more knowledgeable. It's like craft beers, people getting into craft beers now. Wine is taking the same direction where younger people don't want to be like their parents. They don't want to just drink Scotch or, Miller Lite. They want something that that they're educated about, and less alcohol too. So, I don't know. I'm excited about it. Everybody's excited about it. So I'm really excited about the support I'm getting from the world's largest wine distributor. They're going to be selling us closeouts with the vineyards. A new vineyard comes out, a new year comes out with the grapes, and they're left over with 50 cases from another great year, but nobody wants that 50 cases. I'll be able to get that 50 cases, which is like really expensive wine, for a real minimum cost to put into the wine club. They said they would rather give it to us than give it to Binny's, which that's what they've been doing, giving it to Binny's, but they'd rather give it to an on-premise account to get the tastings out there. We have more interaction with customers than Binny's. And we'll have wine ambassadors, just like the girls at Binny's. When you go to Binny's or, one of those big stores, they have the girls with like a sample of this, sample of that. That's who's going to be doing our tastings. They'll be mature people. They're going to be called wine ambassadors. And they're going to be going to school at Southern Wine and Spirits on a monthly basis to learn about our new monthly wines. And getting a lot of people volunteering for a part-time job being a wine ambassador. I don't think that's going to be a hard spot to fill.
That's all? That's all you have to say?
It's hard to explain to someone. I'm excited about, wine enthusiasts score 90.
I don't know, I've been in the sport for about 23, 24 years, and that's the most enthusiastic presentation I have ever heard.
This is gonna be cool. You guys, and you know what? I'm gonna we're gonna donate memberships to the charities in town, 3-month memberships. I think, or maybe, don't tell the chamber, maybe a year for like a big raffle for the chamber, big, black tie affair they do. That would be pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, any members of the commission have any questions, comments?
I got one. I'm familiar with the old bar behind the waitresses, the entrance station. Is that going to be strictly the wine club now, or is it still going to be a regular?
Oh, no. See the bar I don't have a pointer. I do. It's bar on the left. It's a wall bar. We're going to have a sign above it, wine tasting. This is our wine tasting bar. There'll be no stools in front of it. You just go up and, just like Cooper's Hawk, you kind of go up and go.
But it's just going to be for the wine club.
Yeah, no, a section.
It's going to be a regular bar?
The other one will be service for the waitresses like they do now for the dining room.
I don't think you're understanding my
Yeah,
question.
it's just a wine tasting bar.
The bar that you're going to use for the wine tasting is going to be strictly for wine tasting?
No, a section of it will be.
Just a section?
Designated. All right. But I think most people are going to do it at the table.
Oh, you could do the wine tasting at the table?
Yeah,
too?
we got a little.
Oh, so you bring them on, okay. Oh, so you don't,
It's got 6 little wine glasses around it, because you only get 1 ounce.
the Cooper's Hawk, you can only go to the,
But if they want to go to the
bar.
wine tasting, like if they're waiting for a table, they go, let's do the wine tasting at the bar.
Okay,
And then go to, just like Cooper's Hawk, they have a wine tasting area if you want to stand up and do your tasting.
okay, so you could do it at the bar but that bar is just going to be for the wine tasting. It's going to be a full-service bar and a wine tasting bar?
It's a full service bar now, but nobody likes to sit at the Big Island Bar. You know, it's never really full, and I'll designate an area.
Okay,
About 10 feet,
okay.
you know, for people who just want to go do a wine tasting and maybe not sit down and have dinner.
Kind of underused right now from when I've
Real
been in there.
underused right now.
When
It
I've
won't
been in
be
there.
underused with my
Yeah,
wine
so I
club.
mean, it's a good idea.
Yeah, you know, at Cooper's Hawk, I know, like, I ran into all the sales ladies from Stonegate Banquet Hall out in Hoffman Estates, this big banquet hall. I bumped into them, and I go, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You know, and 6 of them meet every Wednesday night, and they do a wine, because they all belong to the club, so every Wednesday, one of them's got they all got a wine tasting to do once a month, and they meet there, and then they go in the lounge, then they get their bottle that they get once a month, you know, with the wine, for being a wine club. Then they go in the lounge and order half-price appetizers for a happy hour. So they belong to the club. You go do a tasting, they get their bottle, and they go in the lounge and order, a slew of happy hour food. And that's their deal. You know, that's how they meet. And it's like a women's club thing. A lot of that going on with those wine clubs. Rumor has it.
Now, do you have to be 21 to enter that area?
You come in right off the house.
I mean, it's a bar area, but I know are you still going to have the tables there too?
Oh, yeah. Nothing changes. I'm just taking the bar stools away from a big section of the bar, and we'll have a sign, wine tasting, so the hostess can point to it. Someone goes, hey, where do we do a wine tasting? Oh, you can go to a wine tasting bar, or your server will bring it to your table. The bar's kind of better because you can add, the wine ambassador's right there, you can ask them questions.
Right.
The server's just gonna come up, like, you have one of the menus. The server will just hand a menu, and you'll have to pick them and then get all 6 at one time. Or if you're at the bar doing a wine tasting, you could say, well, let me taste that one. And then, do your thing and make your mind up before you pick another one. But if at the table, we have to bring all 6 at once. All 6 little 1-ounce glasses for 2 people. I like to stand up and ask questions to the ambassador.
Okay, I'll open this up to the public. Anyone in the audience have a question?
I don't know.
comment?
Yeah, I almost confused myself there.
No one?
Pretty good.
My plan.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing.
Don't scare me like that.
I know where I'm going to find you. Okay, then we'll be looking for a motion for approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and finding of fact.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Secretary call the roll.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you,
All
board.
right, all right. Look forward to it.
5 years from now,
He's too
Yeah.
happy this hour of the day.
Next item on the agenda is old business and new business.
Yeah, really quick, I have something I want to bring up. At our last meeting that we had in July, we, with one of the items, we put a condition with the motion, and we passed it based on that condition. Otherwise, I would have changed my vote. So we gave it a positive recommendation to the village based on that condition. And it was brought to my attention that that condition was then taken out and changed, and I don't know exactly what happened at the village from there, but I just kind of want to make sure going forward, if we have to make sure that we're more clear on our conditions, that if they're changed, in my opinion, and again, it would be up to the village board, that it come back to the plan commission for us to reconsider it. Because if we don't give a positive recommendation, then the board has to have a supermajority. So I guess my other question would be, or just a statement that if that condition is taken out, then I would think the village board would still have to have a supermajority because that condition was removed. So I guess just a statement, it's not anything that needs to be answered. I just want to make sure that when we put a condition in here, that it's followed unless if the village board changes that, which they have the power to do. And that's all I wanted to make sure we got in the minutes.
Roberta, we have anything coming down the road?
Actually, we have Mr. Terry Witt that would like to speak at this time. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
3 minutes, okay. Terry Witt, 471 South Western Avenue. And Mark, I don't know if I can be the second most exciting presentation.
It's tough act to follow.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain everything that's in front of you, but July I went to the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, open house. August I went to our village board. Last week I went to our bike run committee. Monday I went to our economic commission meeting. Tonight I'm here. And as you know, last is first. As planners, if you don't have vision and a plan, no project's going to be very successful. So, what you have in front of you, Bartlett is on the verge of becoming a mecca of new business. Oak Grove bicycle riders came to Dogfather. Tony was excited. We were the first customers of the morning on that Sunday. The reason I say that we're on the verge of it, we sit in the middle of 4 major regional bicycle trails, plus we got Metra that can bring bike riders from Chicago who are tired of fighting the lakefront on weekends. But we got one gap, and that gap is between 59 and the state park. 1.99 miles, $3.1 million. Now, if you give me more than 3 minutes, I can explain how maybe we can get that down to $5,000. But we need that because on the west side of the state park, you got the Illinois Prairie Path, you got the Fox River Trail. And if you follow the Prairie Path all the way down to Wheaton to what they call mile 0, where all 3 stems come together, 190,000 visits a year. Downtown Wheaton, bicycle riders, runners, and that, 190,000. By the time they get up to Army Trail Road at Wayne, it's about 40,000. But if you go along the Fox River Trail, almost every town is getting about 100,000. Okay, so that's the west side. And that's, nobody rides down Stearns Road. Well, one person does. But on this side, East Bartlett, we get now with the County Farm Bridge, we have the North Central Trail that goes all the way nonstop to Bussy Woods, and of course Bussy Woods goes nonstop to Evanston and Lake Michigan. But if you go to the corner there where Firehouse number 2 is, you know, you get on the North Central going to Bussy Woods, but you can also get on the West Branch Trail and go all the way to Naperville with one tiny difficult crossing at Roosevelt Road that's going to be fixed in the next 2 years. And you can keep going to the I&M Canal. What I'm trying to say is there are thousands of bike riders passing around Bartlett that we could invite to Bartlett the same way Tony had people here. And we spent, what, $5-10 a piece, so I don't know, that was $80 right off the bat in his register. I could be with all the restaurants. We could advertise on Metra, hey, get off the lakefront and come to Bartlett. By the way, spend some money. So that's what I said Monday. On the back side of that page is a blog from the Active Transportation Alliance. We've got a petition asking, hey, let's build that trail. I'm calling it the Brewster Creek Trail just to promote Brewster Creek Park. now up to 442 signers of that petition. And if you would, when you go home, Google change.org and search for Build the Brewster Creek Trail and be another signer. Maybe we'll get to 1,000 by the time I get to DuPage County. So that's on that side. The second page is what I presented to CMAP. And they were very encouraging that, hey, this could be a congestion mitigation and air quality grant. Federal government money, 80%. But you gotta have somebody ask for the money with 20%. Well, that's a DuPage County right-of-way. DuPage County's gotta ask for that. And it goes to a state park. It's across the street from the Forest Preserve. We got a TIF in Brewster Creek. Hey, you start dividing that 20% 4 ways, and pretty soon, it's not a whole heck of a lot of money. Now, I ride down there all the time, and it's rare that I see anybody. Well, about once a week I go. And when people go with me, they're not real happy with trucks on their shoulder going 40, 50 miles an hour, and they say, okay, well, don't ask me again. You know? But it opens up a whole world, and you know what's on the other side of the state park? Westridge. It is easier for the residents living in Westridge to go and spend their money in St. Charles than it is to come into downtown Bartlett. So the West Bartlett people have no way of really of coming here. We'll never get to the wine bar over here. But at any rate, so the Westridge people are stuck over there, and the East Side people are stuck over here. So I've got 2 requests.
You're 5 minutes.
I've got 2 requests. Oh, give me one more. This is the Elgin bike map. It is gorgeous. It rates all their streets, comfortable, moderately comfortable, less comfortable. So I gave everybody at the Bike Run Committee one of these, along with an insert that you have. And I rated some of the streets according to how I felt it would be comfortable for somebody who isn't used to riding a bike very often. So this map cost $15,000 for Elgin for 6,000 copies. It was produced by the Active Trans, the same people who produced the Wayne Township Bike Plan. And they're telling me that, oh, it cost us $12,000. Okay, so $12,000. We got a $40,000 budget for bike path maintenance because they're falling apart, but we're not able to fix them all the time, so there's money left over. So you take $3,000 or $4,000 a year out of that maintenance budget, and you show our residents how they can safely ride around Bartlett on the streets. So coming back to my two requests.
Got to wrap it up. We're at 7 minutes.
We're at 7 minutes. Okay.
Out of your 3.
Out of my 3.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's more than I got from the village board.
Come on, Terry, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. First request, ask the Bike Run Committee to get a community town hall, to get a bike plan and a bike map. Second request, ask the village board to set aside $50,000 out of the Brewster Creek TIF to build the Brewster Creek Trail and insist that County of DuPage builds it and get the Forest Preserve and the state to contribute.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have?
Oh, and when you do go home, please sign that petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Roberta, anything else, Roberta?
Plan for a long time.
Anybody? No? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second. So moved.
Second?
Second.
Adjourn. We all said yes. Did you hear that?
Heard it.